Thank you for downloading from Ravi Zacharias International Ministries. Support for this podcast comes from your generous gifts and donations. You can find out more about Ravi Zacharias and the team at www.rzim.org.
Not only do we have to keep watch, but sometimes the strain of keeping watch needs somebody really to prop you up for a little while. When the fatigue comes in, or the exhaustion, emotional, intellectual, physical, familiar, all kinds of trials on the road.
Hello and welcome to a new week here on Just Thinking with author and apologist Ravi Zacharias. There is a cost to living by your Christian beliefs if you choose to voice them in public. And for those who actively spread the gospel, there are trials and oftentimes dangers around every corner. Ravi examines some of the different struggles Christians face and shares how you can respond this week in his message titled, Keeping Watch and Counting the Cost. Here's Ravi.
We're talking about keeping watch, keeping alert, keeping an eye on what's going on, coming alongside, encouraging, praying. Because not only do we have to keep watch, but sometimes the strain of keeping watch needs somebody really to prop you up for a little while. When the fatigue comes in, or the exhaustion, emotional, intellectual, physical, familiar, all kinds of trials on the road. I've oftentimes been tens of thousands of miles away when my family has had some great need. And I remember when I first started 30 years ago, actually before that, 42 years ago in ministry, I would go from church to church to church, go 5 weeks in a stretch, pack my bags in the car, finish on a Sunday morning, drive 200 to 300 miles, be in another church Sunday night, speak 12 times, pack things, and again keep driving. It was either Greyhound or train or cars. You never know where you were going to sleep, who you were going to be sharing the room with, and so on. And at that time, I still recall, many churches would tell me when I arrived there that they would allow me to make one phone call home a week. And oftentimes somebody else would be in the room while I'm making the call to my wife. Those were the early days when we started. Days in which you would lie in bed and start driving the next day and say, have I really made the right choice? Can I do this for a protracted period of time? But people came around you, people sustained you, people helped you, and you kept on keeping watch. And what I want to talk about tonight is a character that I've been looking at a great deal over the last period of time. And the reason I've been looking at this character a great deal is because he was really not a person in ministry. He was a civil engineer. And what I would like to do is talk a little bit about how he kept watch and how he organized a mission to rebuild the walls of his beloved city. Malcolm Muggeridge in the 1970s, when he left the chaplaincy at Edinburgh, he was a latecomer to Christ. If you've never read anything by Muggeridge, I encourage you to pick up some of his books. I don't know of anyone who used the language so beautifully and so precisely, and the phrases he would use would open up vistas of imagination and conviction. But he left the University of Edinburgh and spoke at St. Giles, the famous church, over a moral issue and a moral decision that had been made by the administrators. And he wrote about it later and alerted society as to where we were headed if the educational institutions lost their way. And he said this in his farewell address. The whole address is powerful. Imagine, before a prestigious student body, you as the chaplain are submitting your resignation, and then the audience is hearing words like this. So, dear Edinburgh students, this may well be the last time I address you. And this is what I want to say. And I don't really care whether it means anything to you or not. And whether you think there is anything in it or not. I want you to believe that this row I have had with your elected officers has nothing to do with any puritanical attitudes on my part. I have no belief in abstinence for abstinence's own sake, no wish under any circumstances to check any fulfillment of your life and your being. But I have to say to you this, that whatever life is or is not about, It is not to be expressed in terms of drug stupefaction and casual sexual relations. However else we may venture into the unknown, it is not, I assure you, on the plastic wings of Playboy magazine or psychedelic fancies. However we are going to go into the future, it's not going to be on the wings of Playboy magazine or psychedelic fancies. And that's precisely the track on which we are now. All of the allurements of the Playboy lifestyle coming away empty-handed. Psychedelic fancies. Wasn't it odd that in one of the elections some time ago in San Francisco, they were wanting to put marijuana on the ballot for yes and remove plastic bags as a no. We don't want plastic bags to wrap our foods, but let's introduce marijuana as something you can go and buy anywhere. And you pause and say to yourself, how did we get to such issues of thought? I'm not saying, therefore, we don't have to worry about the environment and all. That's not what I'm saying at all. Why do we not worry about the environment? What goes on inside of us? Because we then become the progenitors of destroying both the environment and the moral fiber in which we are intended to live. Nehemiah was an engineer. His brother comes to him, and he's in the palace of the king. And his brother comes and talks to him. I think he was an actual brother, because later on in the book he refers to him again. He's not just talking in generic terms. And he looks at his brother and says, how's the city doing? How's Jerusalem doing? And he says, you're going to be sorry you asked. Its walls are ruined. Its gates are burned. Everything is in destruction. Nehemiah, we are an embarrassment. The city is gone. 4 months after this happened, you begin to see the conversation, and the king looks at Nehemiah and he says, I've been looking at you all this time, and you've been looking so upset. What's bothering you? He says, you know what? I'm here in your palace. I'm enjoying all of this, but the city I really love is in ruins. Its gates are burned. The walls are destroyed. How can I be at peace while I am here knowing the city I truly love is in such disgrace? The king says, what are you asking me for? And he says, so I prayed to the God of heaven and I said to the king, let me go. I can build a wall. I want to build a wall. If you will let me go, I will give you an appointed time. I promise you I will come back. But I want to build this wall and protect my beloved city all over again. He says, how long do you want? Nehemiah gave him the time. He said, I'll let you go. Nehemiah says, one more thing. Give me the letters so that I have all that I need to go and have safe passage and build this wall and return. Well, story continues, and here's what happens. So we rebuilt the wall till we reached half the height, for the people worked with all their heart. But when Sanballat, Tobiah, the Arabs, the Ammonites, and the men of Ashdod heard the repairs to Jerusalem's walls had gone ahead and that the gaps were closed, they were very angry. They all plotted together to come and fight against Jerusalem and stir up trouble against it. But we prayed to our God and posted a guard day and night to meet this threat. Meanwhile, the people in Judah said, the strength of the laborers is giving out. There is so much rubble, we cannot rebuild the wall. Our enemies said, before they know it or see us, we'll be right there among them, we'll kill them and put an end to their work. Then the Jews who lived near them came and told us 10 times over, wherever you turn, they will attack us. Therefore I stationed some of the people behind the lowest points of the wall, at the exposed places, posting them by families with their swords, spears, and bows. After I looked things over, I stood up and said to the nobles and the officials and the rest of the people, don't be afraid of them. Remember the Lord who is great and awesome. Fight for your brothers, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your homes. Pretty direct language. And I want to bring to you the 3 challenges Nehemiah faced and the 3 responses. I'll lengthen some of the thoughts and shrink the others in proportion with time. The first is they scorned him. They looked at him and said, what kind of a wall are you really going to build? If a fox jumps over it, it's going to fall down. Do you realize how much scorn you will face in your life if you hold to the truths of God's word and you become a defender of it in the public arena? You know, I've been in this 42 years. I got into the ministry in 1972, and then for some time as a professor, and later on RZIM was founded 30 years ago. In 42 years, last year was the first time when I went to one of our prestigious Ivy League schools that I had to have a bodyguard with me. A 300-some-pounder African-American man who had to walk me in. And as I was walking there, I didn't know whether to cry or what. Kids holding up placards with my name on it and talks, supposedly that I'd given, which I hadn't. They were quoting things and attributing statements I'd never made. They wrote articles claiming stuff had been said which had never been said, academically so flawed. Police people keeping watch as guests are coming in. Of course, it built a bigger audience and we were packed to the hilt. But the sadness of it, that you are going into a place to talk about moral absolutes, and our generation now is so lost that they audaciously can stand and block your way, insinuating things, attacking you, and mocking what it is. They handed out sheets to people coming in. Take note of when he says something like this and put a check mark. They were playing bingo while I was speaking. And I stood up and I said to them, I just want to tell you something. I'm not here to change your mind on anything. I'm not here to change your mind on anything. I don't have the capacity to do it. I'm only here because I believe in somebody who can change your mind.
It is a fact. If you stand for Christ in this culture, you are sure to be scorned. Tune in tomorrow as Ravi looks at why we're scorned in today's society. If you'd like to order a complete copy of this message, call us at 1-800-448-6766. When you call, be sure to ask for the message, Keeping Watch and Counting the Cost. You can also order online at rzim.org. Or for those listening in Canada, that website is rzim.ca. Our website is also a great place to find other resources, such as podcasts or articles from Ravi or other RZIM team members.
The rise of secular gods, such as atheism, scientism, and more, presents a serious challenge to the absolute claims of Christ. The Christian worldview has not only been devalued and dismissed by modern culture, but its believers are openly ridiculed as irrelevant. In their book, Jesus Among Secular Gods, Ravi Zacharias and Vince Vitale skillfully point out the fallacies in those claims and present compelling evidence for revealed absolute truth as found in Jesus. Jesus Among Secular Gods is available online at rzim.org.
One goal we have here at RZIM is to reach students, and we do this through conferences such as Reboot, Refresh, and Remind. These conferences are geared towards high school and college students, as well as young professionals. And the purpose is to help train young believers to better understand their faith so they're equipped to defend it. To find out more about these events, or if you would like to partner with us as we strive to reach the younger generation, be sure to call us or visit our website. Just Thinking is a listener-supported radio ministry and is furnished by Ravi Zacharias International Ministries, Atlanta, Georgia.